All right, those are some of the important things I want to point out to you. First of all, definitionally, there are 9 members on the Supreme Court, right? How many of them are women?
Let's go check.
How many are women?
1,
How many women on the Supreme Court?
2, 3, 4. It's 4 of them.
How many?
4.
4 out of
9.
almost equal, right? How many colored women on the Supreme Court?
1, 2.
Who are they?
Yes. That is 2.
So when I say colored, I mean black and brown, right? And how many of them are there?
2.
2. One is Latina, right? The other one's African American, right?
Yes.
Both appointed by?
Democrats?
Both appointed by Democrats.
Yes.
How many men on the Supreme Court?
5.
5 men. How many are colored?
1.
The colored man on the Supreme Court is appointed by whom?
Republican.
A what?
Republican.
And the rest of the men are what? White males, right?
Yeah.
Who appointed the white males?
Let's see. Trump. Yeah. So Republicans.
Republicans appointed the white males, right? And Republican appointed the colored male, right? We had one African, how many African American presidents have we had?
1.
How many appointments did he make to the Supreme Court?
2.
2. Who did he appoint?
So Neil Sotomayor and Kagan.
And who?
Elena
Kagan.
Yeah.
Now, in there, one of the things I wanted you to point out was you saw legislatures prohibited, right? What is a legislature? What is a legislature? A legislature, in this case, is the Congress. How many houses in Congress?
2. The House of Representatives.
One is the upper house, which is the Senate, and the lower house is the House of Representatives. How many members in the Senate?
Senate, 100.
100. How many in the House of Representatives?
Like 400 and yes.
About 435. It'll fluctuate based on population. The Senate always stays the same. We get 2 per state. But the Congress goes by population. So if we have a swell in population, our numbers in Congress are going to change. But currently we have about 435 members in Congress. What is the role of the legislature in the Supreme Court nomination process? Which house has a role in the process?
The Senate.
The Senate has a role. The upper house has a role, and it's called what? The confirmation process. So it goes like this. I appoint Sister Rumble to the Supreme Court. I then send her name up to the Senate. The Senate will then have a committee who will hear from her. They'll sit her down, ask her a bunch of questions before the entire world. And then they'll make a recommendation to the entire body of the Senate, and then they'll vote on that person as to whether or not they should be nominated, whether they should be appointed. So if you pass the Senate, you then get appointed, and now you sit on the Supreme Court. If you are a Democratic president and you have an entirely Republican Senate, is it likely that your nomination is going to get approved? Maybe not. It could, because it could be a Democrat not going to appoint a Republican person. They may agree with him and they might appoint him. Or they may just be magnanimous and say, you know what, that's a good person. Objectively, we should appoint him. But we have to look at those political dynamics, right? Should politics play a role in how we decide cases? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. The Supreme Court is one of the 3 branches of government, right? We have the Supreme Court, which is called the judiciary, and then we have the executive, which is whom?
The president.
The president, and then we have the
Legislative.
legislative. They are all equal branches. None has any power over the other.
Checks and balances.
Now, practically speaking, that's not the case, right? Because who divvies up the money? Who approves the budget? The Congress. Who has the money? That's who has the power, really, right? But in terms of what they do, like the Congress can't come in and tell the court what to do. The court can't tell the president what to do. And the president can't tell the Congress what to do. All that has limitations, because if the Congress enacts a law signed by the president, if it's unconstitutional, the court could strike it down. but that's their job. So everyone has an equal job in this scenario, right? So it's important for us to know how each person got to the court. And even though politics has nothing to do with your decision, we know that as human beings, we have certain proclivities, we have certain thoughts, we have certain ideas about and prejudices about the way things should be, right? For example, there are some people who believe that weed should be legal for everybody. Who knows what weed is?
Oh, fiction.
Weed, tell me. Raise your hands high if you know what weed is.
Door.
Put your hands down if you believe weed. Keep your hands up if you know what weed is. Put your hands down if you think weed is like dandelions and stuff that grows in your grass. Okay, nice.
That's what we said.
Are you 10 years old? Our 10-year-old says that's what weed is, the weeds that grow in grass. I'm glad you think that. No one else put their hand down though, so everyone else knows what I mean by weed. So some people believe weed should be smoked by everyone, right? Now that tends to be a younger crowd. And it tends to be a very older, feeble crowd who believe that there's some medicinal wonders to weed. So those kind of spectrums, they think weed should be smoked. But there are other people who believe that weed makes kids walk around, you know what I'm saying? And so they don't like weed, right? Because they lived in neighborhoods where weed has been destructive to their community. So if I was appointed to the Supreme Court, I was born and raised in Newark of the 70s and 80s when drugs and crime and crack devastated our community. So my position on weed might be different. So if I went to the Supreme Court and if there was a weed charge and you got charged and then you went up on appeal and you finally got to the Supreme Court, I would say, you shouldn't have been smoking weed. He doesn't need weed. It's not anything good for him. He should be in school. He doesn't need weed. That's my opinion because I grew up in a neighborhood where I saw weed be disrupted. Principal grew up in a nice neighborhood where weed wasn't a problem, and people did it, and they still. She grew up in a lily white neighborhood. They smoked weed, but after they smoked weed and did bad stuff, they shaved, they got haircuts, they put on suits, and they got corporate jobs. So she doesn't have a problem with weed. So she's on the Supreme Court, and she and I are debating. I'm trying to get her vote, she's trying to get my vote. But that is political, that is our prejudices, that's what we come to the court with, right? That's why it's important that I had you look at who's Democrat, who's Republican, who's white, who's black, who's women, who's men, because we all come with different kinds of ideas. Some people, if he got to the Supreme Court, he might say, you shouldn't wear pants to court. If you're a woman, you should only wear a dress. He's a man, he's old, he's white, that's what they thought back in their day. She might say, I can wear what the heck I want to wear. Because it's not my clothes you should be looking at. It's not my face or my lipstick or my earrings or my haircut you should be looking at. You should be looking at my brain and my arguments. That's all you should be focusing on. Right? So we come with these prejudices. So we have to understand that when we phrase an argument, I can't go to him and talk to him about things that are outside of his purview when I'm telling my argument. I have to make it so that he buys into it. I have to tell him, you know, pants are kind of outdated. We need to have some progressive movement on this. At least wear skirts below the knees. He might buy into that. My argument's more tailored to that. He might, okay, I can see that a little bit. Your daughter is now getting older. She's gonna be able to compete with jobs, so she should wear pants. And he's gonna be like, oh, okay, maybe I can see that. That's how I have to frame my argument to him. To her, I might say, well, you know, women lose points when they're arguing and they don't have the proper clothes on, if they're too fit or if their hair is all crazy. Maybe you could get a little bit of points if you didn't wear it. What's your name? Vania. Luvania. 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 Luvania, stand up. And Sister Tarver, stand up. So if I'm framing an argument to Justice Rumble about hair, right? She's like, women can do whatever the heck they want to wear. I might say, Mr. Tarby, you know, we should at least, Luthinia's hair is a little bit, she could still express her African-Americanness if she went with a Tarby. Right? So I'm trying to get my argument over to her, but I can't do a straight, no crazy hair. I can't do that because she's not going to buy that. But she might buy the progression from there to there, right? And so framing my arguments is I have to pay attention to the person I'm arguing to. And this is going to be in life. When you walk into a room and you're a speaker, you have to scan the room so you can read the room to find out who's in it, to find out what message is going to resonate, right? Same thing with a judge. Now, I personally think your hair is beautiful. And my daughter and my wife wear their hair that way. And I think it's just marvelous because it gets into my soul. I just love black women. I think her hair is beautiful. If she had no hair, I would think it's beautiful. So you have to tell your arguments knowing what they might be thinking. Or you have to say, I'm sorry. But still keep your mind open in terms of what you're looking at or what you're arguing. You had a question? This abortion case. Who knows what an abortion is? What's an abortion? Stand up. What's an abortion?
It's when a female decides has the option to kill the baby.
To help out, stand up. You have to speak loud to the mass.
An abortion is when a woman chooses to cancel her pregnancy through a medical procedure that inevitably just kills the baby inside. Plain simple.
We got the definition?
Yeah.
So, in order to have abortion, you first must be pregnant, right? We know how we get pregnant?
Yes, no, he's explained it.
Do we know how we get pregnant? Don't do it to get pregnant. That's how we not get pregnant. Just a little, that's your mayor speaking a little. However, so, it's as he said, a woman terminates her pregnancy, but you hear the other part of its definition?
Medical procedure.
Medical procedure, and what else? What's the last part?
Kill the baby.
Kill the baby inside. Right? Kill the baby inside. The conservative white justices believe that life starts immediately when sperm meets an egg. That's life. So if he wants the vote of the conservative justice, he would define this judge. The question here today is an abortion to kill the baby inside. You're immediately on board. As a conservative, white justice is on board. Now, he can't have that definition if he's talking to Justice Jackson, right? Because Justice Jackson said, kill the baby inside. He hadn't first proven to me that the baby's living. So she needs more. So he wouldn't say that to her because he's framing his arguments. He's trying to be smart about it. Lawyers have to look, advocates have to look at every angle and be able to argue every angle. He has to be able to say it kills the baby inside, but he also has to be able to say it's a procedure whereby women safely do this in order to preserve their life or in order to pursue some medical procedure. It sounds a lot more normal, it sounds a lot nicer. But we have to know to argue each side. But in order to do that, you gotta read the room, tell your arguments. So abortion is termination of a pregnancy, right? The controversy is, at what point is it life? At what point am I killing a human being? Yes, ma'am. Can we hear her? Is she presenting properly? Why not?
She didn't stand.
She didn't stand up. Yes, ma'am.
The baby is alive once the heart and brain is formed.
The baby is
Alive.
alive once the heart and the brain are. Very good. There's a case called Roe versus Wade. Who's heard of it? Roe v. Wade. It happened in 1973. A lady in Texas went to get an abortion. Texas said you cannot have an abortion. She sued from the district court, which is the first level of the federal court, up to the Court of Appeals, which is the second level, up to the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court said she can have an abortion as long as she has it in the first trimester. As long as she first trimester. What is a trimester? Right, you don't know the trimester until I tell you all the numbers, right?
It's like 9 months.
The trimester of a 9-month is how many months?
It's like 3.
3. Trimester of a 12-month is how many? 4. The first trimester of a 24-month is a
8.
8. Okay. So the court said they gave you a timeline in which they believe that the fetus is viable, which means living. They said if you have an abortion after that, it is a crime and you can be prosecuted for it. That Roe v. Wade case had been challenged a number of times. There's a case out of Pennsylvania where they said, you know what? We're going to inch a little bit further because as science progresses, then life progresses. Yeah, we can't take a fetus out at 3 or 4 months now, but maybe by 2000 we can. So this case says, you know, we're going to move that trimester, we're going to move it up. So you can't have a baby before that period of time because we have so much science we can make life happen quicker. That happened all the way up until about 2022 in this Dobbs case, which you were going to argue from Mississippi, that said you can't, after 15 weeks, no abortions whatsoever. The district court said no, states can't ban abortions because it's already been decided by Roe versus Wade. The appellate court in Mississippi said the same thing. The case got to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court, in a stunning decision, said states can determine when abortion happens. So if a state says you can't have an abortion after the first week, and you live in that state, you're out. Because what the federal government said was Roe versus Wade, which was the federal law for every state, that's been overturned. And now we, the courts, are giving the right to make this decision back to each state. So if you live in New Jersey, maybe one rule, New York would be another rule. So if you wanted to get an abortion and you lived in a restrictive state, you'd have to go down the list and say, which states allow me to have an abortion at this point in my pregnancy? And you go to that state and you try to get an abortion. What happens? Sometimes the states may say you have to be a resident for a certain amount of time. Or if you're traveling just for an abortion, you can't do it. There's a case in Texas where they say if you leave Texas to go to another state to get an abortion, that we will come after you and find you and prosecute you, the doctor that gave you the abortion, and the Texas doctor that referred you for the abortion. So they're getting very restrictive. And that's why this case is so important. What is the only way to overturn a United States Supreme Court case?
If all the majority votes for the Supreme
I didn't hear you because, okay, I'm sorry.
Court. Yeah. If there's a majority rules for the Supreme Court, so if it's out of 9, so if at least 5 or more people vote.
Right, so 5 or more people vote, and they vote on that case, and they decide that case, right?
Yes.
That's the law of the land.
Yes.
How can that be overturned?
That's a good question.
You cannot overturn, that's the final say. Supreme Court's the final say, except what? The Supreme Court says that you can't wear blue blazers. The only way that I can start to wear blue blazer if I go back to Congress and there's a law that says I can wear blue blazers. So the only way you can really overturn the Supreme Court case is if you get Congress and the President to act to change the law. Period. That is why there's a big push now for the legislature to get involved in this decision. Abortion clinics, abortion rights advocates are all saying, hey, Congress, do something, make a law. Once it's a federal law, then it's a final law. But that hasn't happened yet. But it may happen if they hear the arguments that are made in the city of Orange Township, in this courthouse today, by you people, pro and con, why we should do this. Some of you are going to say the legislature should get involved. Some of you are going to say they should not get involved. But whatever you say, I'm going to send it up and see what the Congress people, our congressmen is going to think about what you guys did. So remember that when you argue, you're arguing not just for yourselves, you're arguing for how we live in America, how we could change lives, because who knows who a senator is? We have two. Yes, ma'am. Didn't hear you?
Isn't one of them Payne? Payne?
Payne is our congressman, yes. He's one of the 435. Now, who are our two U.S. senators? One is Cory A. Booker.
He's a senator?
The other is... So we have two of them. Who knows who the other is? Yes, sir.
Senator Menendez.
Senator Menendez. Senator Robert Menendez is our senior senator. He's been there, gotta be 3 terms.
No.
And then Senator Booker, I think, is his 2nd term. And then our congressman for this area is Congressman Donald Payne. And Mikey Sherrill is right next door to us, West Orange. So the 4 of those people will get a synopsis of what we did here today and ask them to take some action on abortion one way or the other. Any questions? All right, we're gonna divide up into teams. One team is gonna be Sherrod's team, and one team is going to be Teresa's team. Teresa has been a lawyer for the past 20 some odd years. She served as a prosecutor in a number of towns. She's done a lot of legal work on behalf of all types of people, and we're happy to have her, and she's our prosecutor here.
I used to be a public defender too.
And a public defender, so she defended people and she prosecuted people.
Yeah, sometimes.
See, she had to walk in whatever hat she was wearing. She had to frame her arguments differently. Sherrod has been a defender and a prosecutor himself as well on both sides, and has done a lot of civil litigation as well. They both know what they're doing. They're pretty competent. Sherrod, be patient with him. He has a 3-year-old daughter. So if he seems a little easy pushover, that's because he's been trained already. So we're gonna divide up into teams. They're gonna take each of you and talk to you about our strategy and what we're going to do, and they're gonna do that while you have some refreshments outside, and then we'll return back in. So all of us can go outside. There's coffee, donuts, fruit, and juice. And all right, please all have a seat. I know one team has a team name, right?
Yes.
What is it?
Election.
What?
Team election.
Team election. Is the other thing that was
Team stability.
Team stability. All right. We're going to start off.
Order.
I'm the top.
We're going to start off with team stability. Is there an introduction person on team stability?
There is.
Please stand.
Please stand. Your opening, our leadoff hitter.
Is there a lead person on team election? Okay, so the witness for team stability is going to be on the witness stand. I am going to ask questions of that person. Standing with me will be team elections introduction person. And we'll ask you questions, then you'll have to answer, right? And then we're gonna go back and forth. Team election will then take a stand, team stability will stand with me. And then we'll go back and forth. Are we ready?
Good?
Are we ready?
Yes.
put the notes that you have, the first person is up. So takes the notes, hand over paper and the notes to somebody else, you'll refer to that if you need to have them in your argument, right? You good?
All rise. The Honorable Rashida Hassan presiding.
Good morning. Please be seated.
Stand up.
You go up and stand. You go that way.
No, should stand with you until the judge.
Okay, sure.
Counsel, I'll take your appearance.
Your Honor, Dwayne Warren, on behalf of the abortion case being presented in this mock trial competition with various members from our community.
Your Honor, Jerome Menda on behalf of Team Stability.
Good morning, Your Honor. Teresa Pollard on behalf of Team Choice, Election by Choice, excuse me.
Counsel, please proceed.
Judge, the first witness to the stand will be a member of Team Stability and, I'm sorry, Team Election did not enter her appearance. She'll do that now.
Okay, please stand and state your name, please.
My name is Ashika Smith.
And ma'am, you are.
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay. And this will be testifying, counsel?
This witness will be testifying, Judge. She is from Team Stability. Team Election by Choice will be helping me in preparing questions for that witness. And Team Election by Choice should make her appearance on the record.
I am going to swear in the witness. If you will raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
Please be seated. You may be seated. You counsel, you can be seated.
Would you like to make her appearance on the record?
Yes, please.
Good morning, I'm Vivian Morton, and I'll be representing Team Election.
Okay, good morning, counsel. Please proceed.
So, could you say for the court the name of our nation?
United States of America.
Could you say it louder?
The United States of America.
Okay. And what is the highest court of our land?
The Supreme Court.
Okay. And what is the Supreme Court's role?
To make decisions on the cases that come to them that will affect the entire nation.
Okay. And how do cases go up to the Supreme Court?
They go through local courts and they continue up until they get to the Supreme Court.
Okay. And Supreme Court determines the Supreme Court represents whom?
Can you repeat your question?
The Supreme Court represents which percentage of the population?
All of the population?
Correct. Correct. It represents all of the population. And by representing all of the population, does the Supreme Court's...
Objection. The Supreme Court does not represent all of the population.
Counsel, would you like to clarify that question?
Okay. The Supreme Court, the laws of the Supreme Court affect which percentage of our population?
The entire population?
Not just some of the population, correct?
Yes.
And not just a certain percentage of the population. Okay. And when those cases are decided, they become the law of the land.
Correct.
Okay. And when they become the law of the land, they must be adhered to, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a process on how those cases get out there.
Yes.
Okay. And what's the risk if we allow another, well, scratch that. What are the branches of government?
The executive branch, judicial branch, and legislative branch.
And why do we have those branches?
They all serve different purposes, and they're all there to keep each other in check and have checks and balances, so balance of power.
And what happens if we didn't have those checks and balances?
One branch of government might get too filled with power and take over and abuse their power.
What's the risk in that? What's the problem? We have all those people that are in the branch of government are educated. What's the problem if one branch oversees another branch?
It would cause disruption, injustice.
And are you familiar with the Constitution?
Sort of.
Objection. Judge, we are here to hear her introduction. This information already exists by judicial notice.
Okay.
Sustained.
Okay, fine. Fine. So why shouldn't the legislature decide to intervene in a Supreme Court's ruling?
The legislation has never intervened before. We've had situations like same-sex marriages, interracial marriages, cases like Plessy versus Ferguson, where they never felt the need to intervene, even though the general public did not believe that those laws were not morally correct. So for them to intervene now because the general public is upset is setting a precedent for them to intervene in future possibilities of laws being created that the general public does not agree with.
And what's the harm in that?
The harm is that it takes away the power from the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court is supposed to create the law of the land, and if the legislation feels as though they can intervene whenever they please, the law of the land is no longer as cared about by the people.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any questions, counsel?
We have no questions this time, Judge, but we would ask that there be some rebuttal by the team election witness.
Madam, I'm going to step down, and counsel, I will allow time for rebuttal.
He is.
Hmm?
You willing to allow time for this rebuttal?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll call our witness to the stand.
Would you just state your name once more for the record?
My name is Lavinia Morton, and I'll be representing Team Election. And I'll be the introduction speaker is Elise Jackson.
Okay. Counsel, because she's acting as counsel, I'm not going to swear her in. She's just going to be answering some questions with respect to your.
That's correct.
You may have a seat, ma'am.
Just very briefly, are you here today to give the introduction to your team?
No,
What is your team's name?
Team Election,
And who's going to give the introduction to your team?
Elise Jackson.
And she prepared to give the introduction?
Yes,
Have you trained with her?
yes,
And have you gone over your notes and her notes and all the obligations of your team?
yes,
And you feel secure that Elise can carry that job out?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Judge, we call Elise Jackson.
Okay, Ms. Jackson. Would you just stand and state your name for the record, please?
Hello, my name is Elise Jackson.
Ms. Jackson, you may have a seat.
Ms. Jackson, can you set forth your approach here today on your arguments regarding this abortion issue and where your team comes down on the abortion issue, and who will be outlining your case from your side?
So the ban of abortion. The ban of abortion has led to suffering in many states. Some women who need abortion have valid reason to do so, and some women aren't financially stable or can't support a child at the moment. However, the government has a say on what women want to do with their bodies. Also, why are men dictating what women are doing with their bodies? One should not be concerned on what a woman chooses to do with her body, specifically the Supreme Court. Congress should act to make sure women have control over their bodies.
Thank you, Your Honor. That was the central theme of this team's position, is that Congress should act on this law to make sure women have control of their bodies. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Do you have any questions, counsel?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Now, I believe counsel has a rebuttal witness to the Ms. Jackson testimony. Please.
Judge, would you like to? Judge, would you like to call Ms. Dozier?
Would you remain standing and state your name for the record?
My name is Obiani Filizer.
Okay, would you please have a seat?
All right, good morning. You heard what the previous witness stated, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's our position that that the legislature shouldn't intervene and abortion should be banned, correct?
Correct.
Could you state to the court why the banning of abortion actually creates some sort of equality?
Having a total ban on abortion allows for a definition of what is to be prohibited and what is not to be prohibited. For instance, without a ban on abortion, there is a lot of confusion, I guess you would say, because there are some people who regard the life of a child to be when the heartbeat is first heard, and some people say that abortion should be allowed up to 15 weeks. However, people who are in wealthier communities have better access to medical resources that allow them to know when they can hear the heartbeat of their baby. However, women in poor communities do not have access in the allotted 15 weeks to find that out. So by eliminating abortion overall, it eliminates all confusion and it allows clarity of what is and is not to be permitted.
Thank you.
Any questions, counsel?
I know, Judge, we do have a rebuttal witness to that testimony.
You may step down. Thank you for your testimony.
Judge, we call witness Cornell Towns to rebuttal that testimony.
You remain standing, but just state your name for the record.
My name is Cardinal Towns.
Okay, Mr. Towns, you may have a seat.
Thank you.
Mr. Towns, state why the Congress should get involved.
We're stating that the Congress should get involved because state and federal legislators are better suited to enact and regulate laws due to their proximity through elections.
So it's your position that they're elected by the people in their districts, and they can best know what's best for the people in America?
Yes, sir.
That's all we have.
Thank you. You may step down.
Judge, could I ask a follow-up question to that?
Just 1 minute, Mr. Towns.
Do you have any examples that you know of where the legislature actually has represented the wills?
No, sir.
No further questions.
Thank you, Ms.
Objection.
Your objection.
Gun legislation.
I didn't hear.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Gun legislation.
Would you repeat your question?
My question was simply, the witness had testified that the legislature represents the will of the people. And I wanted to know of an example where the legislature has actually acted on behalf of the will of the people. An example where that to be the case.
I'm going to sustain that objection. You may step down.
Yes.
Would you just remain standing and state your name, please?
My name is Ashman Rodriguez.
You may be seated.
Just check.
Mr. Rodriguez, why should the legislation not be involved in Supreme Court decisions?
So the other side are arguing on behalf of the people's choice, but if we take a closer look at the demographic of both the Supreme Court and the legislature, we could actually see that the Supreme Court is more diverse. We have 4 females and 5 males within the Supreme Court, 2 of them being African American, and So by looking at that, we can see that the legislature is more diverse, like creating more opinions from different areas, when the legislature is actually less diverse because we have less percentage of, let's say, African Americans, Latinos, and such minorities.
So what you're saying that the Supreme Court represents more population than the legislature, that's right, correct?
Yes.
No further questions.
Further questions?
Judge, I do have a question.
Yes.
Are the president's political party diverse? Aren't they mostly Republicans?
Did you?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What was the question? I'm sorry.
The question.
Are the president's political parties diverse? Aren't they mostly Republicans?
Objection, Judge. The relevance?
Judge, this witness did speak to the diversity of the court and pointed out their gender and their race, but counsel is now asking, isn't it true that they're not that diverse because most of the justices were appointed by Republican presidents?
The judge, I think the,
Judge, we'll withdraw that question.
okay, all right, that's fine, we'll wait. Any questions?
Judge, who was Samuel A. Ellington elected by? Appointed by? No, elected by.
George W. Bush.
And is it George W. Bush a part of the Republicans?
Yes.
Also, isn't Sonia, isn't Gorsuch also a Republican?
Yes.
Objection. Is it capital?
What is the objection?
The witness only stated as to the race and the gender of representatives of the political party.
But as to what counsel raised on his objection, that the witness did bring up the diversity and the gender of the court in his statement, I'm going to allow the question.
Isn't Robert Johnson a Republican? Isn't Kavanaugh a Republican?
Yes.
Isn't Robert Johnson a Republican?
Yes.
So, there's no political diversity.
There are 6 Republicans and 3 Democrats.
So how is that diverse? Objection, there are only 2 political parties, so what is the relevance of that question? Because if that's spread across, it would be 63.
Would you just repeat that?
Because they're not spread across, it's only 63. There's no diversity.
I'll permit the question and I'll permit the answer.
So
yeah.
do you agree that they are diverse? That they're not diverse?
Repeat a question?
So would you agree that they're not diverse?
No.
I have nothing further, Judge.
Counsel, do you have any?
Yeah, I do, actually. So, as you stated earlier,
As you stated earlier, there is 1 black man, 1 black woman, and 1 Latino woman in the Supreme Court, right?
Correct.
And so that is 1/3 of the Supreme Court being minorities. Would you say the legislature is as diverse as the Supreme Court?
No, the legislature is much less diverse. It consists more of Caucasian males.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything further of this witness?
I have no questions, Judge. I do have a rebuttal witness to that
Okay.
testimony.
You may step down, thank you. If you remain standing and just state your name for the record.
My name is Autumn Tarver.
Okay, Ms. Tarver, you may have a seat.
Hello, my name is Akad Bryant. I would like to hear a rebuttal from our witness.
Okay, you may proceed.
So, I am arguing that the Congress and the legislature is much more reliable than the Supreme Court and in turn the president when making these decisions on abortion. Because if you're looking at the president and the Supreme Court, all of the justices are appointed by the president, and they're not elected by the people, and the president is not always going to represent the wills of the people as shown in the past decade or so. And by that same logic, the Supreme Court justices represent the president only, who may not always show the will of the people. But however, the Congress has many more representatives, and they are all elected by the people, and they all change over the course of 4 to 6 years as the will of the people change. So that just goes to show that the Congress does adapt to the will of the people as it changes, but the president, since it's elected by hundreds of millions of people, it doesn't always reflect what the people want, and in turn the Supreme Court doesn't always reflect what the people want.
How many people in Congress, how many in court, on court?
Like the Senate and the House of Representatives?
Yes.
In the Senate, there are 100 people, 100 senators, 2 per state. In the House of Representatives, there are 435 representatives determined by the population. And in the Supreme Court, there are 9 justices.
Only 9 on court?
Yes.
But 535 on Congress?
435 in the House. Oh, wait. Oh, yes.
Oh, it's total.
Yes, total.
Thank you. And nothing for a judge.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
See, my name is Ash Rodriguez. I have a question. Aren't the Supreme Court judges confirmed in by the Senate?
Yes.
By the Senate, not appointed? Well, sorry, voted in by the people?
Yes.
Meaning that the president can't simply choose one person to become the Supreme Court judge?
Yeah.
No further questions.
Thanks, Mr.
I do
President.
have one question. It's true, though, that the Senate does not go out and pick the person. They don't appoint the person, right? That person is given to them by the president, right?
Yes.
And the Senate doesn't decide cases either, right? Just the Supreme Court. And so we only have 9 people deciding cases, yet the people are represented by 535 people.
Yes.
Isn't the 535 more close to the population than just 9?
Yes, they're more representative.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
One further question.
How are they represented? Just because it's a bigger number doesn't mean that they represent more of the population.
Could you rephrase that? Because the first part of that question. Could you just repeat it?
Rephrase the question, please, counsel.
Why do you believe that the 535 are more representative of our population? Is that simply because it's a larger number?
Objection. Because they're directly elected by the people. That's it.
I'm going to overrule that objection for the next question.
Did I answer?
You may answer the question.
Okay. Why is Congress more representative? It's not just because it's a larger number. It's because of their term length as well. Congress, all 535 members are replaced every 4 to 6 years, meaning the people that they elect reflect the changing needs of the people. However, the members, the justices of the Supreme Court, they can serve for as long as they want up until the day that they die, and they are appointed by the president. Although they are, I guess, confirmed by the Senate, they don't choose who they get to confirm or not. So yes, Congress is more representative, not just because of numbers.
No further questions.
Any other?
Yeah, one more. Oh, no, yeah, sorry.
Judge, we do have a rebuttal witness.
You may step down, thank you. Would you remain standing and state your name for the record?
My name is Miguel Wireless.
You may be seated.
Sir, could you state for the court why you believe that the legislature should not intervene in Supreme Court decisions?
Yes, I may. The undeniable fact is the Supreme Court is that there are many distinct and diverse populations within the Supreme Court. There are around 400 members, each of them coming from different backgrounds and possibly different parts of the U.S. So for a small percentage to decide the fate for the entire population of the U.S. is simply not going to be reflective of our overall culture, our overall U.S. culture of keeping everyone's voices heard.
Wait. Yeah. We'll have a minute with the witness.
No objection.
I don't say so.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, could we have the witness? I'm sorry. He did. First.
Judge, I'd like to recall our witness is going to discuss the stability of the Supreme Court.
Proceed.
Our Supreme Courts has reliable stability because of these diverse backgrounds coming from different parts of the USA. The stability ensures that corruption is almost an impossibility. With politicians, it can be changed within a day or two under external influences. Some of them directly coinciding with the very nature of what our nation is built upon. The point of the matter is, we have people who are able to keep stability in the U.S. because they're able to stick to their morals, even when in the face of self-righteousness. So that is why we must keep the legislation out of this case. We have the stability to ensure the stability to ensure the Supreme Court can keep this nation reliably under control.
So just for clarification, the Supreme Court justices are elected for a lifetime, right? They do not switch out every 2 or 4 years.
Correct. The Supreme Court justices remain on their duties until the day they decide to resign, or when their body decides to resign.
Well said.
And because of this, there's a less possibility for corruption, correct?
Yes, because of the consistent tenacity of these figures are not going to change one day, not going to change it under menial circumstances, unlike other figures who would just get in and out.
No further questions.
No further questions.
Thank you. You may step down. Thank you.
You switch. Now you come.
Judge would like to call our next rebuttal witness.
Would you just state your name again for the record?
My name is Monica Harmon.
Have a seat.
So, can you speak to the health, safety, and welfare issues regarding abortions?
Yes,
Please proceed.
women's bodies. We have a foster care system full of unwanted kids. Yes, we have a foster care system full of unwanted kids. Health, safety, and awareness. We're not taking care of the kids that we have now, that we have today, but we want to produce more. We want to have more. We haven't even addressed the issues that we have going on today. So I think that we should not focus on the fetuses that aren't born yet, and focus on the kids that we have here today.
So what about child disease and poverty and other factors affecting children? Do you think they're being properly addressed right now?
No, they aren't.
Is that why you think the law should not stand?
Yes. And in addition, even with banning abortions, there are still many ways one can go out and find a way to get abortions which is unsafe, which goes against health, safety, and awareness.
Do you mean back alley abortions?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. No further questions.
That's what's there. Just go away. Yeah, no, just.
I'd like to ask a witness a question.
Yes.
Isn't there other possible ways? Is there already possible ways that kids under these unfortunate circumstances can still get by in our modern society? We have welfare systems, including Medicaid and adoption agencies and foster homes, who would, while you may argue they don't serve the best services, they are serving the service to aid these kids and having a prosperous life in somehow. Killing them is not the only way we can ensure that the problem just goes away. There is another option.
Objection. Is that a question?
Counsel, you're testifying. Do you have a question for the witness?
Yes. Is there any other option for these women to keep these babies alive?
That's all up to the system. If we can focus and get through what the problems that we have now, then it would be better. How can we have other kids going into then the system will be overflowed? If we can't take care of what we have now, how are we going to take care of more kids?
the very existence of these programs ensures that this is not that abortion is the only option for these innocent lives. We don't have to just end it right then and there. We can help them.
Objection, is this a question?
Do you have a question, counsel?
We understand that these systems are not the best. Is there any other options besides these? Can the witness answer if there are any other options besides?
Judge Seaman.
Is there any other options besides killing the baby?
I mean, it's not exactly a baby yet if it's just a fetus, for one. And two, the option is to get better within our system.
Objection. You're testifying this as a scientific fact. However, you're not an expert.
Neither are you.
The objection is sustained, but he's asking the question. So you must answer them to the best of your ability.
Please answer my question.
What's the question?
Can you clarify the question, please?
Are there or are there not other options to kill this baby?
The only other option is to improve our system.
Objection, Judge, we're not killing. Are we killing?
We could probably use a different adjective.
Judge, I'd like an instruction that the counsel not use killing and please be a little more empathetic about the situation.
Well, as I indicated, counsel, perhaps using a different adjective would be best so that you don't use that term.
Judge.
I'm an advocate. I should be able to use the terms that I think is appropriate.
But your terms must be accurate terms. And in this instance, you're still questioning what viability is and when it begins. Killing is not the best way to describe it.
Judge, killing requires intent and lots of other factors that are not present today or in abortion in this case. So could you please request that killing not be used? Termination, perhaps?
Again, council is instructed to not use that term.
Thank you, Judge.
Say it. Judge, we use the term termination for employees leaving their job. Yeah. This existence.
And as council has so articulately indicated, killing is a criminal offense.
And Judge, killing
It
refers...
requires intent, motive, and violence, and that does not seem to be the case here. So I'm going to instruct you again for our purposes. We're not going to use that term as we go forward.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge, may we ask the witness for any approving credentials for this relevant situation? For expert testimony.
Counsel.
Judge, this witness did testify about the viability of a fetus and where it's going. She's not testifying as an expert and hasn't presented any credentials in that regard.
The witness is not testifying as an expert witness.
Judge, I believe she at some point stated when life began, and that would make her testify as to it.
She's merely stating her opinion. She's not been.
Oh, okay. Then Judge, could we just state on the record that she's stating her as an opinion and not as an expert witness?
She is stating her opinion, and she is not an expert witness.
So maybe we go back to our question, I think we got lost in the...
Yes.
First, I object to her testifying at all. And I ask again, is there other options?
The witness may answer the question.
As I stated before, the other
Judge, I have a moment with my witness.
Yes.
Your Honor, thank you. You may proceed.
Yes.
The children we have now are our future. There are no other options until we get our system fixed.
system is not perfect. In fact, it may be broken. But we have to acknowledge that it is there. It serves its purpose. It can be improved upon, but it tries. So tell me, are there any other options available?
No, there are no other options for women.
Objection. Isn't it true? Objection. You already asked that question and it was answered by the witness.
Sustain that question, I'm going to ask and answer.
No further questions?
Judge, I have a question.
Yes.
Isn't it true that women are not treated equally to men now in society and that men have much more other options as opposed to women?
Judge, objection. Objection. Well, relevance to that question, and it's not even limited to the topic at hand.
Well, if you look at...
The question can be narrowed. The question can be narrowed.
Well, if you look at access to health care, insurance, whether they receive the same pay, whether they have the same rights, they are not treated equally to men in society under no sense of reward.
Yes, and counsel, the question was, are there any other options? And that seems to go with that question that there may be more options that this witness may want to testify to. I'm going to give them some latitude to explore that question.
Sure.
You may answer the question.
What was the question? Isn't it true that women are not treated equally to men now in society?
Yes.
Yes. So is it true that men have much more other options when it comes to providing for their child as opposed to what women have to do?
Yes.
If they're born? Okay, no further questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Witness, is it true, however, that women in the U.S. have a wide variety of opportunities than that of, say, any other part in the world?
Yes.
No further questions. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Judge.
We'd like to have a rebuttal with this.
Did you have another
Can I
question?
ask a question?
Yes.
Although it is true that women in the U.S. are treated better than in many other developing countries, does that undermine the struggles that they have to go through compared to men in the U.S. or other countries as well? Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Okay, we're waiting. We have a bit of a pause.
Judge, we do have a rebuttal witness, but may we have a quick recess to
Yes.
wait on her?
Yes, and if there's no further questions of this witness, you may step down. The court will take a brief recess.
Thank you.
It's okay. Yeah, sure. Well, we don't have to worry about the money being paid. That's not what we're Okay, let me talk to her for 1 second.
So we saw that activity, right? Got a little heated, right?
Yeah, we had points that we felt like we just said something.
Oh, you do that? Yeah, I feel free to
But then they're already gone.
You come in.
No, I mean, like, the argument, they made, yeah, they're already.
Wrap everything up.
Who's gonna be your lawyer?
My lawyer's gonna be, well, I think everybody's, so who wants to come now? Who wants to do the final? You wanna come to the final one? Because she's got final witness.
Now, so all the points that we have, there should be a way for you to get those through this witness.
Correct.
That's what the creativity of the lawyer comes. How do I get that information from this witness? Well, what do you want?
There was
Do
something.
it right now.
But there was a point about how,
The future will be impacted by whatever the legislature decides to do.
You need that to know.
there was a
If
point
the legislation is set to,
about how, or something like
It was the point that men have better opportunities to get children because they have better jobs, they have better insurance coverage, they have better option on their jobs to take off. We know that. Is that the point?
But there was another point she kept mentioning how, like how we fix the foster care and
Right,
but
right.
it's like
Children
abortion
hurting
has been
now.
allowed for like so long, but that the foster prison has still been a problem. So it's not abortion that's causing harm. You just need to fix the foster care system.
So one is not related to the other, really.
Yeah,
They both need to be
connection.
fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, so get that through. Let's go.
Yeah, get that out. Okay.
Is it true that the abortion system and adoption are as old as each other? And there's no proof that less abortions is going to mean they're going to fix adoptions, or that less abortions will equal better care for kids. Abortion has nothing to do with it. In fact, that is what's called a red herring. Red herring is H-E-R-I-N-G. Red herring is a fish. It was used that you just throw something in there to make an argument, but it's not really true. So don't be fooled by that argument, because it's not.
Right, the killing is violent. Yeah, you guys said that the kids were violent. We thought of violent things to feel good and hurt.
That's what that, that's next point. Killing does not always mean murder or criminal behavior.
And they were saying how she was getting an opinion, but why couldn't you get an opinion that it was abortion wasn't killing that?
Right? Put that in there. Yeah, but killing does not always equal murder. People in electric chair, you poison them all the time. Right? We kill them, right? We kill animals all the time, they find not murder. Right? Put that in there. But when you squeeze it in, it's also another right. It's true about killing. Isn't it true that killing, and then you ask me a question the way the man said? So she won't get caught off guard, she just answers no. You give her a little answer. So I said, isn't it true that she is only likely always, that's always, you say yes. As opposed to why are you Jesus? You give her the reasons, all the information, but you just say yes. All the that's why you choose.
That's general.
Yeah.
Even virtual
makes it a little easier.
It makes it a little easier.
Great job. Students are doing a great job.
It's this topic is a little it's a little tough because it's like a personal.
It's always like
and sometimes I think what you guys do is it's not you're not inclined to believe what you're saying. Sometimes so this is a harder argument for you if you don't but those are the best arguments for me. Because then you have to think that's like you say right?
You don't always get to choose your clients.
Yes. You're a person. Higher going. And everything's on this and one day is more argument same argument when tenants should pay rent, this and that. So I'm going to tell you, that fix it. There's no things. Right? You're going to say that.
Whereas a lawyer, you may have to represent murderers. How do you know who did it? You're entitled to his defense. Think of more so the government has to prove the case.
Right. Right.
Always gives anyone who's in a case the prosecutor the
They give a lot. Very good lawyer, I would say. Very good lawyer, trained lawyer.
Just have a bad
but
they're good lawyers. But some of them are overworking. You know, but they're usually the lawyers that they do small job.
They tend to know the arguments. They also just know the judges and stuff. And because as a human being, there's some things that some arguments that you make that hurt them. And sometimes these public defenders there before us a lot of times, so they know they shouldn't say this judge doesn't like that, like to hurt. You know, certain people they have things that how do you on an argument that, for example, I was in the touching yesterday, right? I was in the touching yesterday. I mean, there's judges that like, there were some on some of them fine. Because hey, why you sign this? I don't care if you can't sign. I don't care that you don't make money. You be putting them. And so they're thinking, yes, whatever issue you want to pay, right? So when we went to penalty, it's $85.
That'll make a big deal.
Yeah, so it
People have a lot of reasons why.
yeah, so it depends on where you are. I think, you know, some courts are again, some courts that are prosecutor in the store, I'll let it be the 699. Some judges, hey, we're not playing this game, but it gets suspended in the store. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. They literally, was he driving while suspended? You're in store, yes, that's suspended. Unless it's a state by one rule, which happens. So they're very much, so why are they thinking? Right? So it really does depend. You know. And sometimes I'm picking up, so that's the main thing. You know, let's keep moving. Right? That's my position. Listen, we got.
All rise. Honorable Rashida Hassan presiding.
Please be seated.
That was not my
It's still okay.
I reject it.
Yeah. What other start to the justice?
Council. Any further witnesses?
Judge, you have a rebuttal witness.
If you remain standing and state your name.
My name is Karen Santamaria.
Okay, you just got to keep your voice up. Have a seat, please. You may proceed, sir.
We have a question for the witness.
Proceed.
Why should the legislature not be involved in the decision of the Supreme Court?
The legislative should not be involved in the case because the Supreme Court is there to maintain stability in the nation. The Supreme Court is there to maintain stability in the nation, and if the legislative gets involved, it will be an endless argument where it will be going back and forth, causing more issues, because there will always be a party that will not agree with. There will always be a party that will not agree with a law. So there will always be a party that will not agree with the law,
and then there will be another party that will agree. And that will create a slippery slope, causing eventually for the nation to collapse.
Could you describe what is the slippery slope that you are afraid of?
A slippery slope is where you will be going back and forth on something. One time you will agree to something, and then eventually something will come to counter it and causing it to change over and over.
And what's the risk in that?
The risk in that is that it will cause for counsel. It will cause for more cases to go on back and forth, and it will never end. For, like said before, it will cause the nation to collapse.
Isn't it true that abortion and the foster care / adoption system are two different situations, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is it also true that before the ban on abortion was set, the foster care system did have its issues and problems, correct?
Yes.
So would you say that one problem does not inherently fix the other and vice versa?
Yes.
No further questions.
Do you have any questions? There's a couple more questions.
Isn't it true that we kill animals to do things like eat food?
Yes.
Isn't it true that the government sometimes kill people with the death penalty?
Yes.
Isn't it true that not all killings involve violence?
Yes.
Do Isn't it true that the government sometimes permits the killing of people?
Yes.
No further questions.
Okay, Judge, I have a question. To a previous point, shouldn't laws change as we grow as a nation?
Would you mind rephrasing the question?
Okay. So, in this country, we have changing circumstances, and not everything that may have been true decades ago, centuries ago, remain true today. So, shouldn't laws be a reflection of that change?
Can we have a moment to confer with the witness?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. I believe this is ready to proceed.
Yes.
Okay, so just to reiterate my question, shouldn't laws change as we grow as a nation?
To the Supreme Court and lower courts, the laws grow. For example, gay laws were put in force. We surpassed segregation, as well as bilingual laws.
Okay, so do you agree that laws are a reaction to those changes in our nation?
Yes, I do agree.
Okay. And so because of that, shouldn't the people that make those laws change and be switched out if those laws are changing and if the will of the people changes?
I do.
No further questions. You said that adoption and abortion are different, right?
Correct.
Even though they are different, isn't there only like one pot of money to fix it from taxpayers?
Judge, objection.
It's not relevant as the witness does not have any information that's relevant for that knowledge.
Why that question, counsel?
Because they pulled it up, a question.
The witness answered or touched on that question in the testimony.
The witness never discussed the financial side of adoption or abortion.
I'm going to allow the question.
You say the question, even though adoption and abortion are different, isn't there only one pot of money that taxpayers can fix?
I do not know.
No further questions.
Wouldn't you say that the stability of Wouldn't you say that the stability of our country is the most important thing to our democracy?
Yes.
Just me ask that and answer that again. I don't think the counsel had an opportunity to speak at the top of her voice when she was asking the question.
Would you repeat your question, please?
Would you agree that the stability of our country is the most important thing to our democracy?
Yes, I agree.
And without stability, our country will crumble, correct?
Yes.
And there's nothing more stable than lifetime appointments, correct?
Correct.
And these judges are appointed by a body of legislation, correct?
Yes.
And their sole duty is to be on Supreme Court, unlike legislation, correct?
Yes.
No further questions.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Step down.
Judge, we do have our closing rebuttal witness.
If you'll just say your name.
My name is Tamara Rumble.
Okay.
Should I stand? Stand. Okay, so I'm here to just state the final closing arguments for our side. The Supreme Court justices are elected for life, or elected for life and are elected by the president. And we feel that those people, when they're put in charge, they are not accurately representing the needs of the people. Most of the Supreme Court justices, if you go and look on the other pages, they were born between the 1940s and the 1970s, and I feel that those people have outdated morals and do not accurately reflect the morals of our nation, and they should be changing as the people of our nation change. I can't remember, I don't know her name, I'm so sorry, but she had brought it up about gay rights and then like women's rights and queer rights in general. Those things were not things when these people were children, and as the mayor had stated earlier today, the morals that we have and the ideas that we have, we're brought up with them, and we might have different ideas based on the way that we were brought up. These people were brought up in a time where racial crimes are allowed to be committed, queer crimes are allowed to be committed, and they do not accurately reflect the times of today. As you know, that those crimes are bad. So having those people in power and being allowed to make these absolute decisions that do not accurately reflect the morals of our nation can be detrimental to our country. I have some stuff that I wanted to say about previous points. Yashika, you have argued about stability.
Are you objecting for her closing remarks?
Right, I was speaking.
She's going off on issues that have not been tested before.
I wasn't allowed to finish my claim.
I'm going to give her a little latitude here.
Yeah.
You can proceed.
Thank you. So I was going to talk about how her main point was arguing for the stability of the country, and well, your whole side is arguing for that. But I feel that the decisions being made and being absolute might actually lead to the opposite thing happening and might lead to the instability of our country. Hold on a second. So sorry. Because of a quote that, what's your name? I'm so sorry. What's your name?
Karen.
Karen? Yeah, something that you had said earlier when you came up to testify. You talked about parties going back and forth and one party will disagree with the other. Those are things that are absolute in law and they will always happen, regardless of what the decision being made is. The only difference now between the decision before with abortion being illegal and legal is that people's lives are now in danger. So with the fact that parties will disagree and that we have to keep things absolute in order to maintain stability and stuff in our nation, those types of decisions being made may actually lead to something bad happening. More protests will happen and more destruction will be happening to our country. One of the final things that I would like to say is from our founding father, Thomas Jefferson, one of the people in charge of writing the Constitution and helping to start the foundation of our nation.
Of the section, there has been no discussion.
I'm discussing Thomas Jefferson.
No objection.
Okay. As part of her closing remarks, she is making comparisons and things that she might believe will be relevant based on what your arguments have been. I am going to permit her to quote Thomas Jefferson and give her some latitude in her closing remarks.
Thank you. So Thomas Jefferson says, all human constitutions are subject to corruption and must perish unless they are timely renewed. So your decision to say that, oh, these decisions must be absolute and then things can't change, we can't switch the people in power, that's going directly against what he's saying. And as one of the people who started the foundation of our country, I feel that his idea that things should change and people should grow, and as our ideas change, we should follow that sort of idea. I think that is all for now.
Thank you very much for those closing remarks. You may step down.
Judge, I have 2 questions.
Well, are you going to question during the closing remarks?
Can I have one question?
Yes,
Yes.
1 minute. Okay. Your question, please.
Isn't it true, in order for all that you have said, isn't it true that you need stability such as lifetime appointing the judge? Isn't it true that the lifetime appointment creates stability for our country?
It will create stability, but at what cost? Because they're not accurately representing the ideals of our nation. And as people grow and change over time, that stability means things can be detrimental to the people that exist now because they still hold those ideas from the past. As I had stated previously, people were born in the 1940s, and they're still being allowed to make decisions for the time now. And they may not uphold the same values of our country that we have now.
Hasn't the system worked for over 250 years?
What did you say? I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Hasn't the system worked for over 250 years?
Define what you mean by worked.
We're still here, we still have a government. Other countries that do not have stability have failed.
Do you think that our government is actively working for us as people?
I'm asking the questions.
I don't understand the question, so.
Okay. She is asking the questions at this point, and it is for you to answer the questions.
Okay, can you repeat your?
–
I'm sorry. Can you repeat your original question?
Isn't it true that without stability, our country can fall, like other countries?
What other countries have fallen? I would like you.
I asked the question.
I'm just asking. I'm so sorry. But sure, yes, without stability, then our country can fall.
Thank you. Nothing further.
No further questions? No.
Thank you.
Your Honor, we've ended the presentation portion of this mock trial. I would like to have Your Honor's commentary on both the witnesses and the presentation of those who have acted as lawyers to give them some points of view, and then please give us direction as to how we make a decision on this matter. Should the legislature get involved and overturn the Supreme Court, or should the Supreme Court's decision on this abortion issue stand as it is? When you're speaking, we're all standing.
First, I want to say to all of you who are here that if you are the future of this city, of this nation, we are in very good hands. I have been impressed by your presentations, by the level of your articulation and points, by your passion, and just your general demeanor in the court. And it has been a pleasure for me to spend my Saturday with you. And I hope that you take something from this, And one is, you certainly have done more than I was able to do at your age. You get up, you speak, you articulate in front of a judge and in front of your peers, and I see that some of your parents are here. It just makes me proud to be here in court with you this afternoon. Of course, this is a complicated case. And if I was a judge actually hearing it, I wouldn't even give you a decision today. I would reserve my decision so that I would have the opportunity to do more research and to look more closely at it. But I do believe that this is an issue for the legislature to be involved in. They legislate, the Supreme Court then decides decisions that comes before them. It's not for the Supreme Court to make law. It's for it to make decisions about the law that exists and to set standards for that law. So I do believe that this is one of those issues that should go before the legislature. And again, I can't say it enough that I'm just proud that I had the opportunity to spend this time with you today, to hear your arguments, to watch you while you make those arguments, and to again comment on your ability to articulate and to argue passionately in some instances for your position. And it was a pleasure for me to be with you today.
Judge, one more question. These are some juniors and seniors who might be looking for letters of recommendation. Is there a way they can get requests to you through your court clerk?
Absolutely. Just send in any information that you have, and if that is something that you need, be sure that you send it to my attention here at the court.
And Judge, could we also, if you could recognize and introduce the crowd to our presiding judge.
Yes, indeed. That very handsome, quiet gentleman that's been sitting in the back, he is the presiding judge, the chief judge of our court. That is Judge Atkins.
Judge, please raise your hand.
That is our judge.
Judge Atkins' responsibility is the overall administration of the court's scheduling. He is the boss judge. And whenever you see a man and a woman judge, you know who the real boss is, but the title is Judge Atkins. He's allowed us to use the courtroom today and help us coordinate the event. So I want to publicly thank him for his efforts on our behalf.
Judge, can I say one thing?
Yes.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you. And second of all, I think at first the fact pattern was, it's a sensitive topic, but I think what I liked was, I think you got to argue or at least present a side that you may not naturally be inclined to agree with. And I think as lawyers, you have to understand that you will not have, you are hired mercenaries. And sometimes, and many times, you may not agree with the position that you're asked to present, but that is your job. And even if you may not agree with it, your job is to make the arguments for your client. And sometimes you have the opportunity where you agree and everybody's in agreement, but I think you guys did a good job on a topic that's a sensitive topic, and both sides made good arguments that clarified the issues pretty well.
Yeah, and to add to that, to just further go with my point of being impressed with how you conducted yourself, this is a very complex issue. It's a very complicated issue. And you seem to take it, to understand it, and then to be able to articulate it. And that's really another feather in your cap for this presentation today.
Thank you. If I could, Judge, Councilwoman Adrienne Wooten is here, who's the chief coordinator of this event. Please give her a round of applause. Education is always our focus, and our principals stayed with us throughout this entire endeavor and really had to sit on edge as she had sides of an argument, but I applaud you for being patient. Our superintendent of schools is an educational project, and he found it not robbery to steal his Saturday and come today to make sure we wrap this up. Thank you, Superintendent. You're welcome. Our board president is here. Board President Johnson is here. Thank you for coming out. Brother Armstrong, what our board. In all things Board of Education, they're very, very necessary. Most of us in South Ward know Stacy, our district leader, who ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our program. I have asked the doctor about making this a club at the schools. No matter what school you go to, this will be a club that will be centered out of the STEM school, we hope. So we'll talk to the superintendent, talk to the principal about how to make this everlasting, because most of you are passionate, all of you are knowledgeable and quick and can pick up and not afraid to speak in public. It just tells me that the future is bright. I hope you learned something today about yourself, about this issue, about how to navigate systems. I don't care if I can be a lawyer. Some of you have to speak up for yourself. Some of you have to argue for better pay. Some of you have to argue for a position. Somewhere you're going to have to argue and put something forward. So I hope that all of you got something to be getting out of this. Before each of the students leave, Chad, who handled all of our cameras today, will take an interview shot of you very quickly, what your name is, what your passion is, because this is going to be on Channel 35. I want the world to know that the best and the brightest are right here in Orange, and if they ever want something done, just come ask us, and we can take care of it. So please don't leave before that happens. To our parent that came and told her daughter told both of her daughters that they would just keep watching, and to allow them to grab her daughter and put her in the middle of this controversy. To the STEM students, I apologize to you because your principal deceived you into thinking that you would just be watching and learning, but she too allowed me to grab you and throw you in the midst of this. I love that. We'll close out from a word whose house this is, presiding judge. Happy.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome everyone again to our courthouse here in Orange. We have an active and working courthouse. We have two courtrooms here. They're basically identical here, but this is what a typical courtroom looks like. So I'm glad you got the opportunity to see this. You got to work with our mayor, who was a lawyer, who's been a judge. You work with our prosecutor, Pollard, here, who's helping one of the teams out. We have one of our prosecutors, Phil, the prosecutor here, who was helping out with the team. We've had some real lawyers and real situations here to argue a difficult and complicated issue. To navigate that issue is difficult for seasoned lawyers. So for students to do it so well and eloquently, I applaud all of you. That was an excellent job. It's not an easy thing to do. We have 40,000 plus lawyers in the state. 90% of them have never stepped foot in the courtroom. So you're doing stuff that lawyers that have been practicing for years can't do. And you did a very good job. I want to thank you all. You did an excellent job. The parents, the teachers, the parents, the principal, who I've known for a long time. But I think you guys are coming prepared. And especially to do this on the spot. The ones that did not know they were going to be participating. That is an awesome thing to do. Congratulations to all of you. Good luck.
Hi, Mayor Dwayne Warren. We're at the municipal courthouse in the city of Orange Township and just completed the mock court trial, and we did it right here before Judge Rashida Hassan, who's one of our presiding judges. Judge, you've heard from some of our young people. These consisted of 12th, 11th, and 10th graders. Tell me what you thought about the presentation today, and the issue that they covered was, should this abortion issue stand, or should the legislature get involved to change it?
They covered a very complex issue this morning, and they worked so hard. And as I said to them earlier,
if they reflect what we have to look for in the future to be our leaders, to be our legislatures, to be our judges, or any profession that they go into, we are in good hands. They took a complicated issue, they articulated it well, they prepared well for it, and they presented it very well, and I was very impressed.
I understand from talking to you, as you gave a presentation to our children, you indicated it's a tough issue to decide, and you have to reserve on your decision.
Yes, even I as a judge, just listening to the issue and the way that the students articulated it, I indicated to them that I would reserve my decision on an issue like this to do my own research and to find out more information about this. I would have probably, in this instance, if it were attorneys, required them to write briefs on it. Absolutely. But these students were very articulate. I got a very clear indication of what the actual issues were in the case. And as I can't say it enough, that I was just very impressed with their level of participation, of preparation, of presentation, in the way that they were able to articulate the issues in this very complex matter.
Thank you, Judge. Also, as part of our mock court competition, you, Chirag, have been a lawyer for many years, both as a prosecutor, you've defended, you worked in civil and criminal courts. How is it working with these children today, getting them prepared and then making their arguments?
I thought they were great. I thought they were able to adjust on the fly and change maybe what they originally were going to say to conform with what was discussed in previous testimony. They were able to adjust their questions and really pinpoint the issues and not get off topic. So I was very impressed with how they were able to adjust on such short notice.
Very nice. Teresa Pollard, you've been a prosecutor for a long time. You've been a public defender. You work with children in terms of getting them ready for various phases of life. How did you deal with a situation where I came in and threw a zinger in terms of changing the issues of you?
What I was most impressed about is that when I turned on the television, evidently in urban schools, our children don't know how to read, they don't know how to write, they're just basically there for the free lunch, and then they leave at 16.
That's the message.
That's the message, and that is a lie. They are bright, Judge Hassan said it best, they're bright, they're intelligent. I would write a letter of recommendation for any one of them. They don't all have to be lawyers, as you said. It's about learning how to read, write, comprehend, articulate yourself. Because the other lie is that we D's and dozing. There's no D's and no dozing.
That's right.
And they came up with other ideas. They were thrown a lot, and this is life. Adapt, right? Adapt or die. That's Darwin's law. It isn't the strongest survives, it's those who adapt.
That's right.
That's why we don't see black polar bears, right? We have children here who are going to go. I feel good about my Social Security, don't you? After listening to that?
Yes, my health care.
Is that I know that there are people who are, that we're raising children who are going to become adults and are going to continue the fight that we have, right, that we're fighting now. So I was impressed. I loved it, even though I got called on short notice. I've talked to their principal about getting Mr. Moss to have maybe them come in small groups, even though we're doing Zoom. Excellent. They want to come see a day.
Excellent.
If you know the process, you now can learn the process and learn how to work with or against or fix the process. And that's what we need to do, and I'm glad to see more of it. So
that's what it's all about, the mock court, trying to train new leaders in every field of human endeavor and making sure that whatever problems are, they're prepared to fix them. I'm going to introduce each one of them one by one so they can give you some sense of their own person, where they want to be, and what their goals are. Hi, I'm Mayor Warren. We're still at the mock court trial, and we're in the courthouse in Orange, and I have one of our participants. Sir, what's your name?
My name is Carnell Towns.
Carnell, what grade?
I'm in the 10th grade.
As a 10th grader, you came to get involved in this activity. What are you going to take away from it?
It was just great being in the courtroom and just going through the motions and learning a bunch of new things, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Mayor Warren, mock court trial. What's your name?
Oviani Filizar.
Oviani, what grade are you in?
12.
As a 12th grader, you got involved in this experience. You think it's going to help you going into college?
Yeah, I really do. I feel like I was able to, have more confidence in my abilities and my ability to think critically and think on the spot. And it was just a very helpful learning experience overall, I feel like.
Excellent. What do you want to be when you grow up?
An English teacher.
Nice. You speak very well English.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mayor Warren, at the mock court trial. Sir, what's your name?
My name's Ashton Rodriguez.
Brother Rodriguez, you had a couple of roles to play today. You didn't know what was going to happen. I kind of thrust it upon you. How'd you accept that responsibility?
Really, it's just hard. It's hard to adapt and to learn on the spot and think on the spot and articulate myself properly. But just having that ability really is helpful.
Well, you did a great job. What grade?
12th.
12th grade. What's up for next year?
Next year, college.
Nice, nice. You think you got an experience today that's going to help you through college?
Yep, it was nice to get a hands-on experience.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. I'm Mayor Warren at the mock court trial, and I'm here with
Autumn Tarver.
Now, Autumn, if I didn't know and I didn't see your sneakers, I think you were a lawyer already.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me about your experience, and you played a role as a witness. You objected a number of times. Tell me about that.
Being a witness was fun, just saying what I had to think of on the spot. That experience was really helpful, and I think it can help me in my career. But cross-examining and making a lot of objections, that was probably my favorite part, because I just got to think on the spot and just say what I wanted to on the spot without having to make any other connections in my head.
Excellent. What grade?
I'm 12th grade.
And what's happening next year?
Well, I want to go to college. I want to be an FBI special agent, so I want something related to that, maybe something related to this as well. So yeah, I think this was a good experience for my career.
You're on your way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Warren at the mock court trial. I am with
Yashika Smith.
Yashika. You were all over the place today. You made our witnesses trip up a little bit. Tell me about that.
It was really cool because I was arguing for a side that I didn't necessarily agree with, but to see myself adapt and start thinking of ways to refute what they were saying was really interesting experience.
Very nice. What grade?
I'm in 12th grade.
12th grade. Next year, we're going where?
College.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, you're on your way to a bright future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Warren at the moot court trial. I am with
Lavinia Morton.
Lavinia, you came in today not expecting to be involved, but you wanted to observe so that next time you could be involved.
Yes.
I wasn't having it. And your mother helped me get you in. Tell me how your experience was.
It was really fun. It's different from watching it on TV, like watching people in the courtroom. So I didn't expect it to be like this, especially thinking on the spot, but it was fun.
Excellent. What grade are you in?
10.
And what do you plan to do when you grow up?
I want to be a forensic medical examiner.
Wow, wow. So you're on a science track as well?
Yes.
And what school do you go to?
STEM Innovation.
You're at STEM Innovation. That's where science happens. With a bright future. Thank you. I'm Mayor Warren at the moot court trial. Since I had a hand in making you get to this point where you're such a genius.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. What's your name?
My name is Tamira Rumble.
Tamira, what grade?
I'm in 12th grade.
I've watched you progress through the grades. You've always done it with excellence.
Thank you.
Tell me about today's activity and how this furthers your career.
Today's activity was really interesting because I've always kind of been interested in law and being like a criminal justice attorney. And it's like a different experience to watch someone be on the stand versus you actually getting on the stand, you know, testifying and like actually getting to experience that. So I got to learn how to think on my feet. I got to learn how to listen to people speak and then like analyze the important points of what they're saying. And that's a skill that I'll carry like everywhere in life, like regardless of where I go. So it was just a really interesting experience and I'm glad I had it.
Well, you did a great job and I started envisioning you with a black robe there. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm Mayor Warren at the moot court trial. Yes, sir. Your name is?
Lakai Bryant.
Lakai, what school do you go to?
St. Benedict's.
Lakai, when you came here today, you didn't know you'd dive right in. You were in the back of the courtroom. I pulled you to the front, but you flowered into someone who did well in this exercise. Why is it so natural for you?
I'm used to getting put on the spot more often due to being at St. Benedict's. They teach you how to think on your feet and be prepared. So, yeah.
So preparation was the key today, you think?
Yes.
And how do you think you guys did today with the reactions of the judge?
I think we did great, honestly. She even said herself that The future is bright for us. We might have a future in law.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm Mayor Warren at the moot court trial. Your name is?
Monica Harmon Ransdell.
Monica, you came in today, and I know yesterday you were preparing a long time. You wanted to make sure that you were dressed for the part, that you were going to be able to articulate. How'd you do? You took a lot of notes, and you were ready. How'd you find that being prepared?
I was really good, honestly. I was a little nervous coming in, but then like getting up here, I was like, this is just gonna be a piece of cake. And it was just nothing.
And you made it a piece of cake. How did you find when you had to stand up and make objections and speak to the judge?
It was actually really fun. Like I said, nervous again, but it was really easy. And I liked the way that everybody carried themselves. Like it was just a very like safe and calm environment.
And what would you say about teamwork in an exercise like this?
It was amazing.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
And thank you.
Bright future, my pleasure. I'm Mayor Dwayne Warren. We're at the moot court trial, and I'm with
Elise Jackson.
Elise Jackson. You came in today. I noticed that when you came in with your notebook, prepared to take notes, getting yourself prepared. Look through your materials if you've read the material. Tell me the benefit of being prepared going into an exercise like this.
Because you have all your ideas and you like to prepared.
Did you find that to be an advantage today when you were either on the stand or asking questions?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
I go to Homestead School in Ridgewood.
And tell me what grade you're in?
I'm in 12th grade.
And what do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm a neuroscientist.
A neuroscientist. Brightness is on the range. Thank you. I'm Mayor Warren at the moot court trial. Our exercises have no limitations. We invite all to observe. Today we focused on the high schools, but I do want you to see the future as well. Your name, young lady?
Alive.
How old?
10.
You're 10. What grade?
5th.
What did you think about observing here today?
I felt very excited about this, seeing my sister talking, and I felt very happy for her, and yeah, I felt very happy.
Are you going to continue to help her to make sure she pursues her career properly?
Yes.
Thank you for your advice. Sir, what's your name?
Brandon Tucker.
Mr. Tucker, you had an opportunity to observe today too. Do you think in the future you'll get involved in this exercise?
Yes. Since I was like 5 years old, I always wanted to be a lawyer. So I have really seeing this firsthand, seeing the rules that everybody played, gives me kind of the perspective that I needed.
Excellent. What grade?
8th.
You're 8th grade. You're 9th grade. Wow. How old?
14.
So you've known this for 9 years that you were going to be a lawyer, and now you're standing in the well of the courtroom. Excellent. The future is bright all around. If you want to see excellence, if you want to see the top of the youth game, come to the city of Orange Township. I'm Mayor Warren, and we're at the courthouse in the city of Orange Township. I'm Mayor Warren at the moot court trial, and I'm here with
Miguel Wiles.
Miguel, you had some exciting back and forth as you were prosecuting the case and asking questions of the witness. How did that excite you?
It excited me seeing all the diverse views that everyone had to put in. Even if some of them I personally didn't agree with, I do love seeing what other people think about important subjects that are definitely going to complement the quality of life in our future life.
Well, certainly that was our goal. What grade are you in?
I'm a senior.
And then next year, you're off to where?
I'm off to college.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir, for being here. I'm Mayor Warren at the moot court trial. I am with
Karen Santamaria.
Tell me about the confidence you learned about being able to speak on your feet in preparation. What was that like for you?
It was pretty great because I'm really a shy type person when it comes to public speaking, so it gave me more confidence.
Excellent. What grade?
Junior.
And what do you want to be when you grow up?
I plan to join a military force.
Very nice, very nice. Excellent in the military. Thank you very much. I'm Mayor Warren at the moot court trial, and I'm here with the superintendent of schools, Dr. Fitzhugh. We put the call out, and you said, please reserve spaces for our kids because we want to be a part of this exercise. Why was that so important?
Children need the opportunity to expand their knowledge base, and this gave them the opportunity to do as such, right? And so I also wanted the students to have a clear understanding that the courtroom is something that's going to expand their horizons and not to be afraid of what can occur in the courtroom.
Absolutely. When you're teaching, I know we're going to speak to, she left, right? Yeah. Okay. Dr. Reed was here throughout. She's a principal of the STEM, and she approaches you about making this a club of some sort. What do you think about that kind of idea?
Let's do it, because the students said that they were engaged, and the students said that they wanted to be part of something that's going to expand their thought process and their critical thinking, and we're going to do it because they said they want to have it.
Wow. When you came to this district, you and I had a conversation, and you said that you're going to be innovative, you're going to be different, and when we had a good school system, you wanted to move us into greatness. How does this fit into that?
Electing students to have the opportunity to speak critically allows them to move into greatness. And being thoughtful practitioners in their practice will allow them to move forward pedagogically.
Wow.
And that's how you move into greatness.
There you have it. That is our school system. Our superintendent, Dr. Fitzhugh. Thank you, sir, for what you do. I appreciate it. I'm Mayor Warren, the moot court trial, and I'm here with
Shaniqua Johnson, the school board president.
Madam President, tell me about the importance of this program today with the moot court trial. You get a number of items on your agenda to vote on, and they're mostly routine classroom academic type things. Why is this something that you chose to support?
Because we need to have a safe haven for our children. We need to keep our children off of the streets. They need something collaboratively to do to stay off of the streets.
And why pick this activity? There are a number right now on this Saturday. My administration has a number of activities. We're at the playgrounds, or at the soccer field, at the basketball court. Why pick this activity?
Because our children get into a lot of things, and if they see it firsthand, they will know what not to do. They need to stay focused.
Tell me about, you were stressing to me that it's important that they not just see it, but that they be involved. And you helped Councilwoman Wooten to make sure that they became the lawyers, the witnesses, and the researchers. Why is that so important?
Because they need to get the first-hand experience. Hands-on is most important for everyone. People need to learn how to do things hands-on.
I've spoken with the superintendent, and you've called me into meetings regarding the school board agenda, and a lot of what you've been pushing is to try to get alternative programs outside of the classroom to educate our children as well. Why do you think that's so important?
Number one, we need a lot of after-school programs. We have a lot of parents that actually work after 4 o'clock. They have no babysitter, so it's very important that we push for after-school programs, not in just selected schools, but in all schools. Also, we need programs to have these children involved in different aspects of life. These are real-life situations that we're trying to prepare our children for.
And you've pushed for an after-school program yourself at a number of schools. You've asked my administration to get involved. Also, tell me about what you're doing. You're connecting with a lot of parents across the board on these kinds of needs as well.
We want to be able to hear each parent's cry. We want to be able to be that community to actually engage in the parents, helping them, giving them the resources so that they can better themselves and also the future of their children.
Tell me how proud you are. The STEM Academy was created recently. It's doing well. It's graduating 1 or 2 classes already. Kids are very stimulated in the environment. At the high school, there is a higher graduation rate. There are more activities there. Tell me what you're doing at the lower grades to continue that thrive of our children doing well.
Social and emotional supports. We have to be there for our kids. We have to get them informed. We have to nurture them. We have to stay on top of not just the children, but the staff as well.
Yes. And finally, I want to leave you with a budget question. I know you get this all the time. Tell me some of the ways that you work with the superintendent to make sure that we can pare down our budget, but go after some of the outside funding sources to maintain our high level of instruction. I'm going to leave you with a budget question. You've been working with the superintendent and pulling some of our budget people in to find out how we can trim the budget, yet maintain the high level of standards that we have. Tell me what you've been doing in that regard.
We have a lot of vendors that actually want to fund some of the programs. Partners. We have a lot of partners that want to fund what we have going on in Orange, because Orange has did a 360-degree turn under the leadership of Dr. Fitzhugh. We have Apple, like we're about to pick up an after-school program through the city. We also are about to, we have we just hired a new psychiatrist for the support of these children. So it's very, very important that as we get all of this funding, because a lot of people want to come to Orange to fund different things because we're doing so great.
And tell me about your efforts. I know you have wanted to collaborate with me as we walk across the city, extolling the virtues of the Board of Education. Tell me about that effort and how parents can reach out and get in touch with you.
Well, they can always email me at sjohnson@orange.k12.nj.us, or you can also reach me on my cell phone, which is 862-262-09.
Oh, let's slow that down again, because we want to be able to get in touch with you. And that cell phone number, is that cell phone number on the screen?
862-262-0918.
There you have it on the screen. You're able to get in touch with the council president directly. Your Board of Education meetings are still virtual, is that correct?
No, we have been in person for a whole year.
You've been in person for a whole year, and the meetings are held at?
We are traveling this year. We're going to different schools to travel so that we want all parents to come to the location, because sometimes the locations are too far for parents to travel. So we're going to each school every month. Every month it'll be at a different location.
Excellent. And that's on the website that's on the screen as well.
Absolutely.
And if they want to get in touch with you again, it's 862-262-0918. There you have it, the phone number to our board president. Of course, I'm Mayor Warren. You always have my number, 862-373-0025. Please call us, get in touch. But most importantly, go to those meetings. They'll be at each school in each neighborhood so everyone can get out and have an opportunity. I'm Mayor Warren. We're at the moot court trial here in the courthouse. Dr. Reed, I'm Mayor Warren. We're at the moot court trial right here in the courthouse in Orange, and I'm here with?
I'm Dr. Devaney Reed, Principal of STEM Innovation Academy of the Oranges.
Wow.
Dr. Reed, you brought out a cadre of students today to participate in the moot court trial. You told them, just sit back, relax. They won't have to get too far involved. Therefore, they came here relaxed. Tell me about the psychology of that, relaxing them, opening up their mind, and then thrusting them into the spotlight.
Yeah. Well, I knew I was bringing a powerhouse group. They're super talented. So to bring them out, I said, yeah, we're going to come out, we're going to watch a mock trial. And when they got here, they received their scripts, and they were able to just jump in action. They're accustomed to thinking critically and presenting, so it wasn't a challenge. But to get them out, I kind of tricked them a bit.
Our school district is doing different things at the high school level, both at the high school and at the STEM school, in terms of getting people ready for college, for a career, even for some military service. We have one of the students. Tell me, what's the difference going? There's a different atmosphere in the school system.
I mean, I think we start having the conversations very early with the students around college and career readiness, and our partnership with NJIT and some of the other universities. It allows the students to get the exposure at 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. Right. So when they get to their senior year, it's not new to them. Many of our students start to take college level courses at the end of their sophomore year. So I think that exposure is what's paramount to their success.
When I was coming up in school, and my mother would compare the schools, she would say that one school is better than the other school simply because those students were exposed. Is this part of the exposure that you're giving these kids?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, when I think about my experience as a child, I was able to, through my school, not necessarily through home, but I was able to visit other countries and take college courses prior to going to college. And I think that helped me. So in conjunction with Dr. Fitzhugh and Dr. Powell, we're trying to make sure that they're not just learning in the classroom, but they're learning beyond the classroom. And you see it come out in their confidence, the way they present themselves. It's because they've had opportunities.
Now, you may have to pay a price for getting the kids involved, because now they want this to be a permanent club at your school.
Exactly.
Tell me about how that process would go and what you're thinking about doing in that area.
Well, you're going to help us out with it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But definitely, I do have a few teachers that I know will be interested in making sure we can get a mock trial or debate club. But to make sure that it's successful, partnering with yourself and different community members to not only elicit more support, but make sure that the students have support beyond the teachers in our building.
That's what it's all about. It's a call really for the community to get involved. A debate society helps you in any field of human endeavor, and we need whoever you might be, if you're a lawyer or a non-lawyer, whatever you believe you can bring to the table. please do it. There's my connection information on the screen. Dr. Reed's information is on the screen as well. Please reach out, contribute whatever you can. But no matter what, I'm committed to going forward to making sure this happens, because I understand as a young debater how important this exercise is, and the earlier the better.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to hear that. I'm gonna hold you to it.
Yes, yes. Tell me about STEM. It's a new school. It's at the old Marylawn site, which is technically in South Orange, but it's an Orange school. It's 9 to 12.
9 to 12. This will be, this year we will have our 3rd graduating class. So we started back in 2017. I think one of the highlights of STEM is that students get to engage in different STEM tracks, whether it be biomedical science, engineering, or computer science. They pick that during their sophomore year. So the students having such a focused area of expertise starting at their sophomore year is what really allows them to grow, and allows us to bring in specific programs for them. So, yeah.
Now, those partnerships that generated by STEM, we've done studies early and realized that if we cultivated STEM properly, that our high school would also benefit. We get partnerships there, and those academics will improve as well. Were we correct in what we studied?
Yeah, I would agree. I noticed that if you look at both universities, both high schools, Orange High School and STEM Innovation, you see colleges partnering with both, and different companies partnering with both schools. So, yeah, I gotta do that. I'm not doing
That's a big sign right there.
Yeah.
Just real quick right there.
Sorry, real quick. Can you let us speak to, we had the most graduates, highest graduates.
Yeah, for the county. Right. Recently, we got some accolades throughout the county about what we did. Firstly, our high school did very well in comparison. And then we were honored as a STEM school, became the #1 school in the county.
Yes, our graduating class, the 2021 graduating class, had 100%. They were the highest in Essex County. The group that just graduated in 2022, we're gonna have 100% as well. So our goal, we're super proud about that, but I just wanna add to that, that we're not just graduating them, we're making sure that they're going off and being successful. So yeah.
Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to the school district who multi-million dollars of scholarships and aid that were awarded to our high school graduates and to our STEM graduates, and we're very proud of them as they're going to start. They started already in colleges and careers and mentorship opportunities. We're just proud of them and proud of the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Brother Armstrong.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Today you're here at the mock court trial, and you've observed what's happening with our kids. When they asked you to be on the school board, you were hesitant because you said, I do the work with the parents every day. I'm in the schools every day. Would that have to stop? It didn't, because you are now overloading yourself with even more activities.
Actually, I am. I was PTO president for about 12 years at Lincoln Avenue School. So like you said, I was in the school system. I was dealing with the parents. I was bringing stuff to the board.
That's right.
But luckily, and you know, I was newly elected in November to be a 3-year term on the board. And thank you. I'm able to utilize my platform to make sure that we engage parents, that we invite parents to the table and let them have their input on how the school system should go.
That's right. Well, when they asked me about your schedule, I always told them that you have a force at home that helps you and makes sure that you're on solid ground. You and I share that kind of benefit at home.
Yes, as you always say, lovely, where's the boss at?
That's right.
And that is my wife that I have. High school sweetheart. We've been married, seemed like 100 years and stuff. But she's the driving force, and she gives me the opportunity to go into the community and do what I do.
It's a benefit. It's a blessing.
Yes, it's definitely a benefit.
Thank you, sir.